Good evening. Welcome to the Vernon Township Supervisors meeting for October 3rd. And we will start with calling the meeting to order and prayer and salute to the flag. Prayer by Supervisor Schneider.
Bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community and help all your people. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. Thank you. Roll call, Lori?
Schneider.
Here.
Maloney.
Here.
Vieira.
Present.
Wagner.
Here.
Smith.
Here. Okay, at this time I'd like to open the floor to citizens' comment. We have anyone today? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name's Gary Miller, and I didn't see anything on the agenda regarding the topic that I'd like to talk about, so therefore this appears to be the appropriate time. This is the third meeting since the conditional use hearing on Universal's expansion of Hunter's Ridge. At that hearing, you will recall a petition signed by 42 residents of Deborah and Kevin Drives. That petition was submitted as sworn testimony in that hearing. Can you tell us, the 42 folks who signed that petition, what is the status of that request that was contained within the petition?
Well, I know we talked about last month, you know, that we're doing the traffic study, basically. The police were there and Rob was there, so turn over to you, Rob.
Yeah, we definitely looked into that request. Myself and Randy were there probably at least 4 or 5 different times at different times a day. We had a couple other officers there to monitor speed. We monitored the stop sign at Deborah and Kevin. We recorded kind of that data. We brought it actually to the September work session and discussed it there. Kind of going off the top of my head here, but I believe the 85th percentile speed was around 33 miles per hour, which would be 8 miles per hour over the speed limit. I think we stopped 6 people that were over 40 miles an hour. Really, we looked into it, and I believe the discussion was we were going to continue to monitor that traffic situation and see where we were at. We didn't want to commit to anything prior without verifying the facts and information, and we're still kind of monitoring that as the development right now is not taking place, but before the development takes place, while it's being developed and after the development. So we're still just monitoring that situation.
On the information actually you gave us, Gary, concerning how to do the speed humps. Well, to do this, what would we call them, speed humps, were they?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It said that, to do an extensive study, not just to rush into it. So that's really where we're at with this. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't see them going in before next spring because of the conditions with the weather coming up and the ability to get the asphalt and everything to do them. So that's where
plowing.
Right. I mean, once you're there, we're going to be plowing them, but it'd be, I think, 1 year less without them would be good.
When you were here last time, Gary, didn't you mention that with the police presence out there and things like that, you did see some things slow down, people stopping at the sign and things like that? Is that picked back up again?
I did, and I have something to address on that part of it. While the recent use of law enforcement has been effective it still remains pretty much a fact that people's driving memories are not any longer than their political memories. And to have a speed hump or humps, as requested in the petition, that reminder is there every single time they go up and down that road. And we want you to please be advised that this petition has not been retracted or withdrawn. These speed hump requests are still a matter of record and sworn testimony, and will remain so until 22 signers of that petition agree to withdraw that petition. So far, to my knowledge, there are none that want to withdraw that petition. To be perfectly clear, we are still requesting those speed humps. Also bear in mind that they are every bit as inconvenient to the residents of Deborah Drive on the upper side, next to the intersection, and to all the residents of Kevin Drive. And yet every single person in that area signed that petition. We would all have to deal with them, and yet we are willing to do that. Therefore, we're asking the board for a yay or nay response by next meeting, November 7th, as to whether or not the township will be installing the 2 speed humps requested in the petition. This will be 3 months, 90 days, from the time of submission. More than enough time for the request to be considered and voted on. If no decision is made by then, we will have to proceed on our own. There will be a newsletter delivered to all the signers of the petition very shortly after the November meeting, outlining the final disposition of our request. As what Mr. Horvat has stated here regarding the criteria, regarding the humps, as I assume you're referring to the handbook?
Yes.
Okay. It needs to be noted that everything within that handbook is not a requirement. They are not requirements regarding what Mr. Horvat has just reported. And I'll read verbatim here. Average daily traffic. The ADT should exceed 1,000 vehicles per day, or the peak hour volume should exceed 100 vehicles on the roadway to be considered for traffic calming. Key word there is should. And I suspect that Mr. Thomas would agree that the word should is completely different from the word must. These are strictly guidelines as far as the parameters that Mr. Horvat spoke of. It goes on to say, this minimum criterion may need to be modified to better reflect local traffic conditions. We take that to mean what those conditions are within our neighborhood, on our roads. Any criteria for traffic volume, average daily traffic, or cut-through traffic should be based upon local experience and preference. Again, that is not a requirement that it has to hold true to the 100 vehicles per day, per hour, whatever it is. And Mr. Horvat referred to the speeding at the 85th percentile. And there again, that is only a guideline. It is not a requirement. I guess that's it. That's all I have.
All right, well, appreciate your input and concern on this. If, 90 days, I think, is really probably the minimum we would want to do that for.
I'm sorry?
I think 90 days would be the minimum we would want to have for that anyways, so that's reasonable in my estimation. Anybody else?
I think Chief and I were out on that road too, looking at speed, that it dropped considerably from what you had reported. You know, they appear to be doing very, very well. It must, maybe it's just a matter of diligence on the police department to actively be there at different times. But that's something we'll have to consider. Like I say, we're still gathering information. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's fine. I know that when you and I met Mr. Miller, you seemed to be satisfied that the property owner had taken the appropriate steps. Is that still the case?
I'm sorry, what?
When you and I met privately, sometime beyond the last meeting, which I made the board aware of, you seemed to be satisfied that the property owner was taking diligent steps in the direction that the residents wanted. Is that still the case?
Would you be referring to Universal?
Yes.
Absolutely. They did do what they said they would do, and in our opinion, it has been effective. It does seem to have calmed down the apartment traffic, but the condo traffic and the support vehicles are still a problem. They don't seem to realize that there is a stop sign there. But until, as I stated earlier, until the majority of the people who signed that petition want to withdraw it, we would still have to request a yay or nay on it.
Thank you.
Are they working back there now?
I'm sorry?
Are they working back there now?
I don't believe so, not yet.
A little bit of surveying, I think.
Okay, well, you had mentioned support vehicles. What did you mean by that?
Oh, moving vans, lawn and,
Oh, okay, okay.
you know, ambulances, anything and everything that,
An ambulance, we can give them.
yeah, anything, any support traffic that's needed for a development that size.
All right, I understand now. I didn't know if you were referring to the construction.
No,
All right.
no, that, I'm sure that will come later.
Anybody else? Anything else?
No.
Gary? All right, thank you, Gary. Well,
Perhaps
See
there's
you
one,
next month.
may I offer one other piece of information?
of course.
Back in 1996, of which Mr. Thomas was here for, that board that okayed the conditional use for Universal was not the same board who had to deal with land development. There was a change, especially in the chairmanship at that time. Mr. Chuck Longo took over, and that truly reversed the attitude of the township at that time. It's unfortunate that now you folks have to deal with that same situation. But that's where we're at. That's where we're stuck with.
That's the way it goes. Thank you, Gary. So move on to the approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes for the September 5th, 2019 regular meeting with a correction to the motion. The correction being on a motion by Greg Smith and a second by Gary Wagner, with all of the board voting in favor. Officer Kosterman is off of probation effective September 1st. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
And a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? Thank you. Finances, motion to direct treasurer To issue checks for the approved vouchers due for payment.
So moved.
The motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? Motion to ratify payroll for the employees from September 1st, 2019 through September 28th, 2019, and the supervisor's pay.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Not in favor? All right. Next we have correspondence. Any correspondence, Lori?
Not at this time.
All right. Move right up to the police report. Randy Detzel, Police Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm going to give the report of the Vernon Township Police Department for the month of September 2019. We had a total of 237 calls for service, bringing our yearly total so far up to 2,088. We had 18 motor vehicle accidents. We had 7 citizens who were locked out of their vehicles that we assisted. We had 15 traffic stops for various traffic infractions. We issued 5 citations. And of course, then that meant we issued 10 warnings for the traffic infractions. We assisted citizens on non-traffic related instances on 2 occasions. We attended 6 court hearings at the district court at Honorable Judge Lincoln Zillhaver across the street on Route 19. Those hearings were all for criminal cases, no traffic cases. We traveled 2,794 miles traveling in and out of the township on our patrols. And I have a few things to mention for the month. And what they are is, again, I want to hit hard on the school buses and watching the school buses and police stopping. If there's no divider, you must stop. I mean, there's no ands, ifs, or buts. If the bus is on, the red light's there, you must stop both directions. Also, the roundabout has been going very well, I think. All we need to do there is just everybody should approach it, realize, watch the signs, and when you see the cars are inside the actual circle, they have the right of way. So if everybody just keeps flowing, I think that'll be fine. Looking forward to when it's getting finished. I believe sometime in the near future it'll be done, and I think things will be a lot easier for everybody when the traffic lanes can flow the way it's intended to have them flow. Scams, I'm starting to have issues again with some scams. And I'm encouraging our citizens, please, we're here to help. Call us. If you get a letter and it's asking for your pertinent information, your social security number, anything to do with your banking or anything, give us a call. We'll get together, we'll look at the letter for you, we'll see if there's any substance to it, if it's legitimate. We'll call from here. We can call from the police department and make sure it's legitimate. Please don't send monies or your information, because there's no way to retrieve it. We had one this week that actually originated out of the Dominican Republic. This is going to be almost impossible to do anything with, so please, that's why we're here. We're here to help. Call us. I'd be more than glad to look at it or talk to you, and I know all the officers feel the same way. And then last but not least, of course, we're looking forward to our annual trick-or-treat night, which will be Thursday, October the 24th, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We will be out in the police cars. We'll try to see as many kids and parents as we can, and we'll, of course, like every year for the last 20 years we've been doing this, we'll give out some candy and visit with the ghosts and goblins and what have you. So we just wish everybody have a nice night, and number one, all motorists, please watch for the kids. And that's my report.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions for Randy tonight?
No.
Chief, can
Yes, sir.
until we kind of come to some sort of a conclusion here about the Deborah Drive,
Yes.
and Kevin Drive and all, can you continue to monitor
Absolutely.
that and put
Absolutely.
some presence there?
Absolutely, and anytime Mr. Horvath has a few moments, he can go over with me and we'll document it, so we'll keep it rolling.
Okay.
Or even just driving through?
Sure. Absolutely.
You were talking about the scams. Are those coming in the mail?
Well, most of them seem to be originating on a telephone.
Right.
And the thing about it is, the thing is, if we get something from the IRS and they're threatening you, they're never going to call you on the phone. It's going to be a letter on their letterhead. And if they have these numbers, I had one where a citizen came up this last week, and we actually called from my office. And it ends real quick. They won't even answer the phone when they see the township police department show up. So you know it's not the IRS, or they would answer. So please, you know, if you have a chance, call us. We're here to help if we can.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? All right, we moved right on to the road department. Road report, Ludwig Zarembisky, Roadmaster.
Thank you, Chairman Maloney. Good evening, Supervisors. For the month of September, checked roads after wind and rainstorms on the 3rd, the 12th, and the 16th. We cleaned up down trees on Cotton, South Watson Run, and Williams Roads. Did a lot of base repair spots. One spot on Sportsman at the intersection of Putnam. Did a lot on Faust and a lot on Cutter. Spent 14 days with marking the spots, saw cutting, digging out, paving. We paved the cross pipe cut on West Vernon Road. Started mowing berms again. Built shelter pad at Roche Park. Used about 8 tons of 2RC, so I think Rob said that's coming soon.
Yep.
Repaired the washout on Murray Road and spread millings and ran the road planer on Keyword Hill Road. Ditch cleaning on Westview and Keyword Hill. Cleaned catch basins out on Shippen and Hope Streets. Repaired the sinkhole at the Finley Hill catch basin. And on signs replaced, we had some stop signs that were vandalized. One on Mullen Road, the arrow sign at Cutter and Carr Hill, and one sign got knocked over on a 45-mile-an-hour sign got knocked over in North Watson Run. Under equipment maintenance, on the John Deere 5085 tractor, placed the hydraulic fittings. John Deere 410 backhoe, new front bucket cutting edge. Truck 6, left rear wheel studs and lug nuts. And the 2015 Ford new rear mud flaps. On the JCB backhoe, degreased and steam cleaned. On the John Deere Tiger boom mower, replaced 2 hydraulic O-rings in the valve body and greased. Met with Rob on various occasions and check out some roads for the 2020 road project for the budget. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, any questions for Lynn? On Murray Road, was that the gravel part? Or
Yes, yes. Right down the water coming out of Starlight's driveway. We had a couple heavy rains, that ditch couldn't hold it all and washed out.
Yeah, we had some heavy rains for sure. So, were any of the roads underwater from them?
Our usual South Watson.
Swamp?
Yeah. They've dug the Beaver Dam out twice. The Game Commission has. I was just down there last week, and there's water out like 3 feet out on the one lane.
Been that way also.
So they cleaned it out a couple times, and they said they'll try to keep an eye on it for fall. So I think they're trying to keep the water in there for the duck hunters right now, I think. So.
Yeah, most likely. All right, thank you. Next, administration zoning report. Robert Horvath.
Good evening, everyone. First, for zoning tonight, there's a subdivision before you, the Nahey subdivision. This has gone through the County and Township Planning Commission. It is recommended you approve it contingent upon meeting comments 1 and 4 from the County Planning Commission. Also, 4 zoning permits were issued this month for a total of $165, bringing the yearly total for zoning fees collected to $40,867. It's been quite the year for zoning permits. The bulk of my time this month has been dedicated to the township budget, hence why a little bit of shorter report tonight. As we discussed last night at the work session, currently we have a preliminary budget for 2020 that I believe meets the needs of the township. We'll be continuing to work on that throughout this month with your guys' input and more input from the department heads. But I was able to meet with all of them this past month, and we believe this budget addresses their anticipated needs for next year. With the summer behind us, our parks are beginning to transition into fall and winter use. So the restrooms are in the process of being winterized, and the picnic tables, shelters, and wooden statues have been winterized. Though I still encourage our residents to get out there and enjoy the parks while the weather is still nice. It was a great year for the parks this year. I'd really like to thank our numerous volunteers that help us out in the beautification in our parks, and say a special thank you to Maria Price. She dedicates a lot of her time to Roach Park. Really makes it look nice, and she does a great job down there. So hats off to Maria. As the Township's Emergency Management Coordinator, I attended the Crawford County Hazard Mitigation Planning meeting on the 26th. The county is starting the process of updating their hazard mitigation planning that was done originally in 2015. One of the topics that was brought up and is an interest of Vernon Township was ice jams and how we could work to mitigate that hazard. If you can recall, 2 winters ago, we had some serious problems as a result of ice jams. I will continue to be a part of that planning process throughout this year as they update that plan. And finally, once again, I'd like to remind everyone to be aware of their surroundings and traffic signage when traveling through the roundabout. It is nearing completion, so soon it will be open to 2 lanes. Weather and scheduling permitting, paving will start on the 14th of October to put the top layer of asphalt on. All of this paving will be done at night to help eliminate traffic congestion. If ever anyone's wondering, I do not have the date of completion for the project, but I was invited to a semi-completion inspection meeting on the 29th of October, so we are getting close. And that's my report for tonight.
All right. Any questions for Rob? My question was on the roundabout.
Okay, sounds good.
Good job. Thank you, Rob. So, motion to approve the Nahe subdivision contingent upon addressing comments 1 and 4 of the Crawford County Planning Commission letter.
I'll make that motion.
Motion. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? The engineer's report, Ashley Porter is not, he's still,
Yeah.
okay. Mr. Thomas, solicitor's report?
I think I was here in 1996. I think I was.
Did you say 1996 or 1896?
There's certain things in township business that you want to remember, certain things you want to forget. And I'm not sure the one I want to remember is what I want to forget. And anyway, I can't deny I was here in 1996. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Do you want to check on?
Yeah, I'll check some of that.
New business, we have a motion to approve the notice of dangerous structure order of demolition for the UCIP building.
I'll make that motion.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? We discussed this last night. We'd just like to expedite this so they can move on to hopefully rebuild. And we are getting into bad weather here, so. I have a motion to advertise for the 2020 brine bids.
So move.
Motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? Motion to advertise mowing bids for the township grounds.
So move.
Motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Not in favor? No. This was our bids going out for all of the parks and ball fields and everything. Motion to advertise RFP for township solicitor and zoning hearing board solicitor.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Not in favor? Okay, moves up to old business. Motion to approve resolution 2019-08 CDBG application. The motion?
So move.
Motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? This is our annual application for the Community Development Block Grant funds. Okay, we have upcoming meetings. October 24th will be trick or treat from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And then October 30th is the Crawford County Association of Township Officials Fall Convention at 8 a.m. November 6th will be the Supervisors Work Session at 7:30 p.m. And then November 7th, the Supervisors Regular Meeting at 7:30 p.m. And we'll move on to Supervisors' comments. We'll start with Supervisor Gary Wagner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been informed that the UCIP Rubber Duck Race is going to be October 27th And they're gonna drop these ducks off the Mead Avenue Bridge. And it's between 1:45 and 2:15, so you might want to try and avoid that bridge for that short period of time. I guess they're trying to raise funds for that. It sounds like a really good thing. And they'll be down at the Bicentennial Park is where they're gonna pick the ducks up. So they'll be down there, so kayakers might want to be careful going down the creek at that time. It shouldn't take long. It shouldn't take long. But,
That's the 22nd?
October 27th,
Oh, 27th.
27th.
Okay, that's a Sunday.
right.
Very good.
Well, normally that's pretty light traffic on that bridge that time anyway. Yeah, I'd like to reiterate what the chief said about the school buses, because sometimes on 322, that road is so wide, you don't see the bus clear over the other side. If you're in the right-hand lane and the bus is clear over, you don't really see it, but you've got to be aware, because they don't pick up any kids where there is a divider, because there's no houses there. So you might as well just say all of 322, if you see a school bus, you better be stopping, because it's a pretty severe fine and a lot of trouble if you get nailed. So please, watch out for our kids. That's all I have.
Very good. Joe?
I think with this time of year, very shortly we'll be having not only the costume parties and Halloween and things like that, but we'll also be having an annual event here, our Halloween parade, which I hope is well attended and people take the time to enjoy. But please, please be careful of the youngsters around. That's all that I have.
Fritz?
The only thing I wanted to reach out to Rob and our department heads. Last night we received the proposed budget for 2020 here coming up, and I know that takes a lot of work to put that together, and from our department heads also and their input. So it seems to be that they've come up with numbers that are going to be agreeable with everybody, and possibly no tax increases. All right. That's all I have.
Thank you, Fritz. Greg?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, be careful in the roundabout. I've been going through it a lot more lately, different times of the day, and it seems like the yielding and getting into the circle and people are stopping. It's going to be a learning curve. Obviously, it works really well when there's not much traffic. Works great, but when the heavy traffic's there, just have a little patience and just kind of see what everybody's doing, and that's going to be a growing pain, I think, but that's pretty much all I have. Just be careful.
Thank you. That's a good way to put it, growing pain.
Yeah, very well said.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Armstrong for coming out this evening to televise our meeting. And on the roundabout, I just recently traveled up through the whole, I guess, length of the state of Indiana, and there are a lot of roundabouts up there. And it was funny because I was traveling with a guy, and he said, "Oh, you have these in Pennsylvania?" And I just had to kind of chuckle to myself and said, "Well, yeah, they're coming around, and they like them. They seem very well adapted to them. And I think, like you said, it's going to be a learning curve, and it should work out." So, and I'd like to especially thank our fire departments for the busy month they had. A big fire down at Lake Road Auto, and then the UCIP fire was huge, unfortunately. But fortunately, we have the men that are dedicated to coming out and taking effort to put the fires out. I can't remember, how many departments were at the UCIP? 14 or 15?
Oh, no, it was into the 25
okay.
range. I'm not exactly sure. Then you got to account for probably 3 or 4 that were moved around to different stations throughout the township, throughout the county to provide.
That's right.
coverage.
I guess 30 was the number I heard.
It was up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I can't thank those people enough for taking their time to do that, to fight that fire, or any fire that will come around. So, and all the auto accidents and EMS calls and everything. So, with that, I would like to have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.